Welcome, guys, gals, ghouls, freaks, fiends, weapon crew, and new listeners. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on Rocky Mountain High, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is February, Sunday the 19th, February, Monday the 20th for those of you across the pond and beyond. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. And thank you so much for joining us this evening on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I'm your host, TessaTNT, and we are broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. Thank you so much once more for joining us this evening. We have an epic show on the way. It's going to be cut a little short, but it's going to be good. So if you're listening to us live right now, you may be listening to us on KPNL Radio. You can also find us live on We Are Paradox Media under Spreaker. And we're also live right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So if you want to listen to us in your free time, whether you're working in, or working out, make sure you tune in to us once more under We Are Paradox Media at Spreaker, Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Tumblr, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Deezer, Podcast Addict, and Podcast Chaser, as well as Podvine. So we have Mr. Jay Yates and Miss Marie Yates, who are more commonly known for their frequent appearances on popular paranormal reality television shows, such as, but not limited to, Ghost Adventures, Haunted Case Files, Seasons 1 and 2, Paranormal Witness, Ghost Adventures, Aftershocks, and The Scariest Night of Our Lives. Jay, being haunted since birth and undergoing a near-death experience, has created a lifetime of personal paranormal experiences, and Marie, she inherited these hauntings in through marriage and has brought the Yates family haunting countless supernatural encounters in and outside the field of paranormal investigations. So the Yates family haunting has been captivating audiences around the world for the better part of a decade. The Yates appear regularly at events and lectures discussing their own ongoing paranormal experiences, as well as the knowledge gained with them being haunted survivors. So outside of lectures, radio, television, and events, the Yates have a strong drive to help families that struggled with the paranormal as they once did. The Yates aren't your average paranormal investigators. The Yates spend much of their available time conducting what they call paranormal consultations, rather than the often damaging paranormal investigations of family homes. Together, they lead a successful team of passion-driven paranormal investigators into the darkest corners of the desert Southwest. Now we've moved it eastwards. Yates founded Crossing Over Paranormal Society, the COPS crew, to help both the living and the dead. Their ongoing mission is to seek only truth, understanding, and proof of the paranormal by any means necessary. Their approach to the paranormal has brought many families peace back into their homes and assisting families putting back together their broken families. The paranormal is not a way of life for the Yates, it is their life. Even today, the Yates live haunted and learn the balancing act between walking the thin line between both the living and the dead. Welcome, you guys, and thanks so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having us.
So far as the paranormal goes, how is it back east? Are you guys having any hauntings there? Have you had anything follow you, or?
Well, Jay's always haunted. So whatever he has, just stay in Arizona and follow them. But Jay has another we've gone to that state. It's this year. But there's same shows. We that don't have here that we experienced there. They have to do the boat, so it's ready. But we get to go there and visit part of them.
Nice. So yeah, you guys said living there in Tennessee is quite different than Arizona. It is. I don't know. I didn't really enjoy Tennessee, but I don't know, that's just me. And I had some bad experiences there.
It's a huge culture. I would say that compared to here.
And your thumpers.
Yes.
Awesome. So, did you guys start another group over there in Tennessee, or are you guys putting your toes in the water, or is it hard because it is like in the Bible Belt?
I mean, it is a different change. It's no short.
I'm trying to remember.
We do have teams. And we have another team now that's doing over here that he's now a little bit. So we're sort of expanding a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, is it hard to get used to the twang over there?
Yeah, a little bit.
So, what'd you just say?
Yes. It is almost like another language out here.
Yeah. Well, I have a different clothing to wear, and I like my core and Ouija board and all that, and where we move, people don't like that. It's very much dirty looks.
Oh, well.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
still wear them all the time and don't care.
Yeah. That's the way to be. Can't let the South get you down. So, Jay, as far as your guys' bio goes, when did your haunting first begin?
For me, like, since experience, phenomenon, I think, and the feedback is going to be something to remember. It was difficult to be young kid. I didn't have any reality TV shows to watch and to feel like we weren't alone, right? But things have changed quite a bit.
Can you tell us a little bit about what exactly happened to you or what you experienced?
For me, I would experience this full body apparitions of mostly children growing up. They would appear to me as they lived at their moments of death, whether that was a car accident, drowning. So it was pretty intimidating as a kid seeing that and understanding really what it was. So I spent a lot of sleepless nights and scared days dealing with it. I had a pretty supportive family that would listen to me about it. And were pretty supportive of my gift and my purpose, I guess.
Has that affected you as far as like your sleep schedule and stuff? Like for me, having those experiences as a kid, like I still have issues getting to sleep at a normal time and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean it's still bad. I mean that too. It's difficult to get to sleep sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely affected all aspects of my life.
So it wasn't for work, regular worker. He would be awake all night. Just sleep during the day.
Yeah, it's so hard to do like a regular 9 to 5 job or whatnot. I prefer night shift.
I did that for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, luckily I work with a girl now and she's a night owl too, so I can go to work at 1 and everything's all good. So Marie, it says that you inherited this, so did things start to appear to you after you and Jay had started dating or got married, or how did that all happen for you?
He was to me. Yeah. Because he wanted to change his experience. To be honest with you, it was only an experience. But I did run. But I didn't. But that same night, I had my very first experience. And that's why I knew it scared the living me. Because seriously, you know, and you it scared the living me. There's things that police brings in that we knew shouldn't have, and it just kept doing it. And then the lights kept coming and pulsating really bad, and it wasn't really last, right?
Wow.
Seen this creature, and it seemed like it was running from, and the children were there completely took me. I didn't chase the creature itself. Right now, chase the creature. Took me so many years, but for my kids. But it's honestly, I think I argued with them because it just moved the area originally from India. So maybe it was one of the animals in case out here. They're really creepy what they want to put moving and now you but I just haven't stopped. But it's when the day goes, no, we don't have animals like that. But after that, I think I just started having like experience. There's the I never played anybody spirits and stuff. And I think I was like 4 or 5 years into the mission. Started hearing things and then I was going nuts. But with Jay and then other people in the paranormal field, I sort of just learned that I had abilities that never had. I'm very judgmental of myself and push here and stuff. I was like, is it just like worrying? I won't do no reviews or anything, but I don't trust myself to do that.
Yeah, there's always that questioning. Is that right? Is it not? But things probably occur to you like, it's going to happen, then it does, and different things like that. It's kind of the same with me. Like, I don't advertise it because I don't want to do readings. Because I have that doubt in my head.
Yeah. I think he's the one that believes in everything I do. Because he honestly is like, he didn't say to him. He's like, don't you believe it happens all the time now. Where people are like, okay with it. Because even if you made a mistake, I'm made to make mistakes with it. Going home. If I don't really use my abilities, I can don't switch it way ahead.
Yeah. Always listen to your gut.
Yeah.
So what did that creature look like?
When was it called? I said it was yeah. It's like the souls on TV and stuff. It just the thing is, it wasn't gray. It was like a very tan looking just like the ears were very pointy, and I just couldn't believe what I see.
Yeah, did it kind of remind you of like a gremlin? But smaller ears?
It's in a way it could. If it was smaller. If the feet on this was like this, the head and the ears were what was really big. So, and the people were so big as well. But the feet were. That's really nice. It was some kind of animal. They still like visiting, but then they would see stuff.
Did it have like a sleek reptilian skin?
You know what? I couldn't pass in that one. To be honest with you, I put a one to people.
Yeah.
And closer to it. I couldn't tell you. I just want to do it. The nose, the face was so wide. I never even seen that. She said she kept standing. Disappear on the
Yeah, I actually saw those in Arkansas on my granny's farm, and they were around this fire, and some of them were beating on drums. Some of them had like those staffs or spears, and they were going around the fire and chanting. And I think they noticed that I was looking out at them, because I was like, "Why is there a fire in Granny's chicken yard?" And they all stopped at once and looked, and so I slammed myself in bed, pulled the sheet over my face, and you could see the shadows coming up to the window, and you can hear them scratching up the side of the wall, and then they eventually started going after my brother and caught him, and he's just had issues ever since. But it's a good thing that it was running from your house and not to your house. Seriously.
Yes. I sort of say I don't know if it was in the house to do this with you. The kids were the diaper. And then he's 21 now. Okay. But yeah, I don't know if it was in the house, but it was freaking out a lot. For him, he was more experienced. He actually explored around. He was just checking everything. He wanted one to the house. And I'm just like it was his.
Yeah. Have you guys' yeah. Have you,
Way more creepier things to be since then.
yeah. Have your kids had experiences too? Like, are they gifted as well?
It's not. He doesn't. He supports us. Yeah. Not that was, but it's what we done. Realities, we try to keep him away from that, but because he's autistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's into paranormal. I don't know if he has abilities. I really don't yet. Sometimes I think he does. Then there's other times that like, oh, maybe not.
I'm still young there.
And I guarded him all the way up until he was 18.
Yeah, my youngest, she's constantly like trying to get me to do things here around the house, and I'm afraid to because I think that can activate things. And so it worries me, and she gets super bummed out about it, but she's only 7. But she's totally into it. I think I saw your son.
He was behind my back. Dad did. She did it not.
That's true.
So I've been really mad.
Right? I know, it's scary.
So experience that with. I didn't want my younger one to, so I started one walk. And maybe I should. No. He is 21 now. He really wants to get into it. I'm just supporting him and keep him,
So as far as like tools and stuff you use, you talked about the Ouija board earlier. Do you use that or
You know what? I will not play with. I never use one. The elephant is there. It's something to do with the shape the Ouija board is fun. I think a Ouija board can be that. I think anything could be that. Just, envelope, this kind of stuff. Some of it can be there. A Ouija board is just a cardboard paper, more or less it's a game. If you put it into a bed flash. Me, the reason why I'm scared is the ones who listen to movies. It was drilled in my that the Ouija board with that hole. He used to go to his form and to the Ouija board that way. Because I was so scared of that to be now I controlled a Ouija. I can hold it now. I'm not like scared of it like that. I just have to go perform anything on it. He has.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about incentive when it comes to anything that we use in the course. It is what it is. It's a tool. The problem with the board is conversation with something you don't know, just like with anything. And you're making that correct call to the other side, so you need to see a function out of there. Saying goodbye is always important. And we run into issues with Ouija boards and we get cases because of boards. They got scared and didn't close out that conversation. We just have to come in and close. It's pretty much as simple as that.
I love the this I guess the meaning of the keyboard that they put down normal field uses it, well most of people. I love it how they use it to communicate. Then there's that portion of people that use it to do stuff that they shouldn't do.
It's just like with anything.
I mean, or stuff like that. It's just you have to learn that what's good and bad and what you should do. And he said, when you're open, communicating to the other side, you can get close as well.
Definitely. Yeah, I hate the way that they, produce it and kind of target kids. And, everybody's like, it's just a game, there's nothing to it, but there really is. And I like the way you guys said, it's just like with Ovilus or anything else. Like, it's all in your intention, and, anything can happen with those tools.
We used to do ghost tours in the city. And children. I think that was 17 years old. And he was talking to me and said, we get one. Because of this wonderful nephew or niece that the kids wanted, and they're kissing my. She was treating them with, like, they have on the list and this equipment, and I explained to her that those are the same thing as a Ouija board is. If you just have to know what you're doing with it and learning how to close it.
This is basically all we're going to use that image of a low Ouija board. So they could have done movies about Ovilus, ITC technology. I mean, that gives you an even deeper insight than the board. So we get it all with intent. And then, when you're conjuring something with intent, it's a whole lot to it. But you're opening doorways and communication and policy. That's the typical problem that we all grew up as a kid. Or when we as a Mexican call it the homeless, because if something finally does happen, everyone freaks out and doesn't want to tell mom. Then they call the Ouija board. They weren't supposed to have someone to tell. They call someone like Marie to explain what happened, and then their mind and they create something much bigger usually than what's actually happening. Putting things into perspective instead to help people like this.
Just a lot more education. I like these events that we get to production and then all the people everywhere. It's to teach these people that can do the exact same thing as just Ouija board. It is weird that the Ouija board is the best. To be honest with you, I grew up in the church. I mean, I grew up in church. I was my mom was a Bible preaching woman. And so they say she still is. She just tells us what we do now. I mean, she's probably the biggest loss. But back then, it's every day or something. That's how it grew up. And it was just like, so even making real music.
You're dragons. Yeah. So you guys, Miss Vulture City?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Vulture City? Like where you guys did your investigations and you had tours and stuff there. Do you guys miss it, or?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard moving. You develop relationships with spirits on the other side. You develop relationships with people that were involved with it. It was hard saying goodbye to a lot of those spirits that we developed such great relationships with. But we go back regularly and visit. I'm really lying if I say I don't miss it. But it was difficult. It was difficult being with it. But when we come back, it's all a big, huge reunion for our friends. But there's still something that on the other side.
Yeah, I think Vulture City for me is my peak place. The spirits that we have some bad experiences. But I mean, most of them are good, to be honest with you. And it's just, I don't know, it's like a family there. I mean, I will say, in Vulture, more than I say we'll do Arizona. I wish we could move Vulture City to San Francisco. It's closer, but it wouldn't be the same. But I'm glad we did it to go visit. Plus, we get to see what our friends was. We're actually going to be in Arizona next month, in March, for an overnight event. A lot of people want to go spend the night there, and one location that you won't be able to sleep there.
Yeah. Is that the one with the office upstairs, or is that another building?
That's one of them, yeah. That's that building, yeah. we lock the town down for an entire night once a year. Allow people to come out, set tents, camp out there. So it's an investigation from dusk till dawn. There's a portion of the evening that's led, and then the rest of the night is pretty much yours. If you're an investigator, come there. Just immediately jump into investigating, and they can do that. We remove all the barriers and everything for people to actually get and just look at all the buildings. Something that's allowed during the day when you regular visitor.
There's teams come out, and that's like an opportunity for teams to do like team, things together and what kind of escapes get more good evidence. I mean, because you can have 100 people in bullshit and still catch up.
It's pretty big.
Very exciting.
16 buildings across several acres. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched a few shows on that. Paranormal Files was one of my favorite because, it's a dad and son team, and they did get to go upstairs, and just the experiences they had there was pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah. It's awesome. They got some really cool stuff. And Colin, when he was out there, he got some really interesting audio coming from his balcony. And unfortunately, he actually got his camcorder stolen on his way to home. And that SD and everything that was with that is just gone. But they really got some amazing action on audio. It was so amazing. It was so bad. And he lost that. That was a good investigation.
One of the so he loves to come home with investigation into his family.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. Dig the guy. So, Marie, you did have a negative experience. Was it like a possession or an attack, or what happened?
Son?
The tree, the hanging
The
tree?
very first time I had anything that kind of culture, to be honest with you. And it was the most weirdest experience. People look at me like, ghosts? I mean, and how can you explain that? You just and it was pushed in my gut. And it knocked me down for a little bit. I mean, and I guess it felt not being myself for a little bit. And I sort of attacked him, and I didn't know what to do. But then I ended up getting worse to the emergency.
Wow.
So, and this was another person that was listening to you that actually witnessed me getting punched. They actually saw me got getting, and they didn't see the person that did it, but they got getting clipped in and me covered. It was one of the strangest things. I will say, people say, do you think it's demonic? To be honest with you, I don't believe it's demonic. You have to remember, there's really ghosts and then there's angry ghosts. And you have to remember, the electricity ghost town we were mining was going. This was back in 1880s, what was it, 1886? And years, back then, women weren't to be in places to work and stuff. So women had to be in the kitchen, in the cleaning or whatever, yeah, barefoot and pregnant. This was back in that day. So I think these men were mad at me because I was attracted and a huge effect on over 100 people there. It was the first time bullshit with that many people. And the crowd over 100-year victims actually pointed out. And
You got to remember, ghosts are people too, and you have some people in life that are good people, you have some people that, and this is probably one of those points. We're just going to speak. Specifically, because she's the one that helped coordinate getting all that together. It's no good stuff, and machines out that. So I'm sure that they, a whole bunch of people are messing around their goals.
Definitely.
and was just actually recently at the old. There was a lot of, I will say, I've been molested. I haven't really been much into the paranormal for the last, year or more. I said a little bit, it would be a disease. And it's really attacking me really bad. So, been very sick. Lots of meditations, but I ended up doing the past year. And I last week, I say that, but I think that was there was some things I don't believe were falsehood, to be honest with you. These things were brought from with somebody else. I'm not saying someone did it exclusively. I'm saying that I just think something that came in with somebody else. It came in equipment, anything like that. But something was there, and it kept messing with me. It made me pass out. The night we were doing the this month, I ended up because I ended up passing out. And the following day, there was a lot of issues. I don't really remember most of it. To be honest with you, he was, and other people were too. And there was a lot of weaknesses. But I know that I just myself. I felt really angry. And like things were bad. Just bad things were bad. And I know I ended up falling over the
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, to be honest with you, like, I don't think that people don't understand, like, what the side effects are for doing what we do. And those of us that are really deeply involved with it and, like, encompassing about something, right? So I think we have exactly things like that really helps too. Like, I'm convinced a lot of what's wrong with Marie is because of a lot of the encounters that we've had for 5 years. Really weakened her immune system. And I think we had a lot of opportunistic, like, type spirits on the other parts of the business and the healing that got in. And I think that was one of the first particular incidents last year with Marie. But, yeah, I'd rather be us than be the other.
It's been an amazing people that assisted us. I mean, it just, sometimes even just ask our family. I mean, I really love to have things with here, in Tennessee Rock Chasers, them all of them, they were there. Andrea, I mean, yeah, Andrea, I don't know.
Yeah, we're going to eventually acknowledge to the stuff.
But yeah, everybody helped me out through that whole same. He's a husband, he's the best friend. He's okay, and I couldn't do anything without him.
You guys make a pretty awesome team. So, Jay, with your near-death experience, was that as a child, or what exactly happened with that? And did you have like more paranormal experiences after that happened?
Yeah, I had a near-death experience that happened to me on August 13th of 1999, to where, essentially I saw my body as a shell. So I guess I could say for a brief moment or so a period of time, I was, on the other side. I experienced a pretty incredible experience that lasted for a very long time. And without getting into details of exactly what was going on at the time, I could tell you that, I saw my life flash before my eyes. I saw, pretty much everything in my life that I thought was, like, really terrible and just devastating. I realized that it really wasn't all that bad. So it was, like, recognition and understanding, like, the supernatural intelligence of my life and what I had done thus far. Pretty negative experience with my near-death experience, to where, I saw a really dark place with some pretty serious, intimidating figures, and leaned towards my faith and kind of got myself out of that and able to come back here and talk about it today. But that would be a whole show just to get into that, because it's a pretty lengthy conversation. But yeah, and I would say after that experience for me, it did definitely open up the door even more than it was before. And it became even darker than it was before. And what I mean by that is demonically, there was a lot of things that weren't very happy that I came back to speak about truth and what I saw, almost as if they did not want me to speak about what I saw. Because, I mean, a person like myself that believes like I do, that there is a heaven, that there is a hell. And with that being said, the biggest trick the devil has is that place nor he even exists. I can tell you whether people believe me or not. It does. I was there. I saw it. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But I will tell you that they made me that person. After it happened, I became ordained. And then I tried to get involved in small group ministries and signed up pastor. And I essentially got excommunicated because I believed in ghosts and demons. And I would entertain people's conversations about their hauntings. I just it wasn't really welcome where I was at, and it put a very bad taste in my mouth, and I was kind of lost for a good year after that. And then Marie and I stumbled across one another around that same time, so it was quite interesting. But you know, I think the paranormal and my near-death experiences have made me a deeper faith for me personally, in an understanding of life in general. I think. I don't have a figure out where I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, right? But I do think, I definitely think I have something to offer and possibly help other people, and that's why I still stay involved with it, and I still go out there and speak and lecture about my experiences. But yeah, it definitely was life-changing, for sure. And that's something I'll never forget. I remember it like it happened yesterday, just this spring.
But when that was many, many years ago. The youngest is 21, that's what I told you. But I mean, when he talked about it, it's like he could talk the same way today, and it's amazing. Like, once alive, I will say it to him. I'm glad it was him, not me, because I could have done that. What he experienced. There's no way, but he talks about it. And one thing I'll say, people like, how did you believe him at the beginning? I'm going to say, if you meet Jay in person, you know when you look at somebody, you just know they're telling you the truth. Jay has those eyes. I mean, he just speaks the truth straight out of you. It's amazing. I mean, straight out in a really good relationship before that, a marriage, that was really, really bad. And when I told him, she's like, oh, there's men like that? He said, it's my dad. I knew my dad. That was it.
So they do exist. So what are your guys' plans since you have moved?
Plans after we moved, first kind of getting acclimated to actually being here. I've been here just a little over a year. I think it's like almost going on a year and a half here.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a huge change just getting out here, getting established and everything. But there's no shortage of opportunities for us out here. We are really approached by locations to come out to investigate some really amazing locations and had some really amazing special invites to go out to some places that aren't very well known, which is something that we really enjoy doing. So we have a lot of those things lined up throughout this year to be able to go out there, trying to get back into it a little bit more. But we're excited. It's a different pace out here. So like,
I think we took a year off. I mean, the only thing we sort of focused on last year was the Paranormal. To be honest with you, with the move, and we sort of just focused on the Paranormal and the move. So outside the way, last year we got reached out by a lot of amazing paranormal teams here in the East Coast, and we can't wait to work with all of them. I mean, we love working with different people all the time. I mean, that's the thing that we just love doing. And checking out some of these amazing locations. Just last year, we sort of went to one of our friends, Rockie, on that event. We went up there for he's been one of those people that always read us. So we wanted to make sure we support him because he's amazing here in Tennessee. So we went with him one time, and we went to an amazing location.
I don't even remember what it's called.
Yeah. Yeah. Woods, and there was a cemetery there that like was weird here. And I'll tell you, in Arizona, you don't
have cemeteries.
So you're home there, and you just sit and look. Here, you can go to every neighborhood, and there's some kind of cemetery there. And I was like, whoa, okay. So it's it's a different.
One thing I found that in Tennessee is that people aren't as open to talk about their paranormal experiences as they are back west.
Yeah.
And that's it. And if you're outside coming in here, it's a little bit more complicated to speak to those people about the hauntings to get into some of those locations. So we have found that being a little bit more difficult than usual.
Into locations, a lot of it is because they're just on TV.
Right.
To be honest with you, retired from TV. I'm not going to do TV anymore because I just can't do it. So you probably see them, not me, who's more on TV. They still love going out there speaking, doing, stuff. People want us to do TV. We're not really ready to.
We ran for like 20 years straight, almost. Like, it's about 20 years straight, just constantly, every single week, and every single time off from work, it was traveling somewhere and doing something or filming. And it was like, I think after so long, we kind of needed to move and just kind of reset and refocus and rebalance our lives because it was crazy. And for the last 2 years, we were in Arizona. And that was a vulture city almost every single day. And getting content in my own home, to mention dealing with all the spirits there, especially when the pandemic and everything shut down, there was nowhere to go. So pretty much, and you would just do it in the town like constantly. And like we were completely surrounded by all of these spirits. I mean, it's like names, associations, relationships.
That I did,
and although it was a really great time, it was also very, very exhausting.
Yeah.
And it took a lot, specifically having the illnesses that she has. And it was just important to kind of just like chill out a little bit, reset, and we're kind of like getting back to where we were at a different steady pace than we were before.
And you probably know this, the spirits, when they try to communicate, they do. They take your energy. I mean, that's just something they do. And to be honest, you don't just as much energy anymore. Or they can't take anymore, or I'm out usually. So I don't believe any of them are really trying to harm me. It's just now the body can't take my energy and communicate like I used to. So it's kind of
that's being more responsive with us, and we're not spring chickens anymore. And, we got you're older than me. But yeah, I mean, it and honestly, it was kind of nice stepping away from it for a minute, to refocus and reprioritize, and there's still more to come.
So many different things out there, but still normal. Because we were around the town normal.
I mean, you're talking about 20
years. And you're like, and there's so many other things to do. Like, we went to a whiskey tour. And we're doing whiskey tour. They do this kind of stuff. I'm like,
people go to the movie theater to actually walk to the movie and eat there.
The other thing I heard that the movie was to.
We did like two screenings for the years. We would get invited to go open for like movies, and we would speak before the screening. And it was like, I mean, we enjoyed the movie, but it was like this because we were, connecting,
See the Marvel movies, the theater. People do this? I'm like, this is cool. And eating dinner at 8 o'clock instead of 2 o'clock in the morning. So it's like, it was a really strange lifestyle change. And then as trying to get into the paranormal, Amy would be creative.
It's going to be curfew too, I think, for you. I mean, like, because you don't have access to
the daytime ghost. Do a daytime ghost sign at Manchester City Park.
Well, it's amazing because a lot of people think like nighttime is the right time, which, it's quieter as far as traffic and stuff generally, depending on where you're at. There's so much activity during the day. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Some of like the most crazy experiences I've ever had been like in the daytime. Like I think that like people are just so kind of nighttime. It's scary. To get it like your senses are heightened when the atmosphere is dark.
You get good. You just have to be able to get evidence during the day when we were there that night. I think vulture ghosts and spirits, I think they go bed at night.
Well, there wasn't like, I mean, they had to get up early in the morning there. And plus, I mean, shoot, it's hot in Arizona.
Right.
It likes them.
Going on. Did you guys notice like an upsweep in the paranormal after the pandemic?
Yeah, I think like because we had an opportunity during pandemic to really, like I said, investigate like one specific location, but we still had a chance to actually go to some really cool places that like they got some amazing evidence. And you noticed during that time we investigated a lot during pandemic and in isolated locations by ourselves. Like a lot of these spirits, we were getting like intelligent responses and being aware of what was happening. And there's its own span flu swept through it almost 100 years to the date when it was happening, and with COVID. And it was like they understood the face coverings and the distancing, and like they were empathetic and sympathetic of what we were going through. So we had some really interesting comments.
Because they even from politics.
Yeah,
it's the strangest thing. We had things stand up. I know we had things going Trump, we had things going Biden. It was the weirdness. It's weird because we never had in all our life things doing the paranormal. Never had anyone say anything. In the
ways of our current political situation, our economic situation. It was so fascinating to see that. The world slowed down, and there was just less people out and about. So we were kind of tuned in a little bit more, or maybe a combination of both. But I feel like with COVID and since COVID, honestly, I think that they all have stemmed a bit from us and the other side. We're also living in some crazy times, and a lot of people are really focusing on meditation and prayer and different like outlets to really help them with spiritual enlightenment and whichever direction they're going to because of that. And I think people are having a little bit more work, professional life, and mental health balances. And I think that's also helping the field and people progressing and getting better information and better understanding of what's happening on there.
So we were good. Zappis was culture, and he did the last year's overnight event with us. And he had experiences. So he was an investigation he was doing back east for his own patients, like patients. The same spirits were coming in vultures, and they were talking about the same. And then they started talking about the war.
They were talking about
and some kind of oil like in Ukraine and stuff. And so they're saying we're scared and bombs, and it was.
The other thing is that happened inside the assay building. In the assay building, we've used so much, like all the same. That is almost like we've opened something. We're thinking something already opened.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, but I think we've tapped into it so well. It's almost like walking into a phone booth and making a collect call somewhere and getting like serious information and conversation with these spirits. It's just so much.
Teams are coming, investigate on culture. Teams of YouTube, teams to TikTok teams to those photos to questions. They're investigating it. Two locations that most of them get it. Say building and the box hall.
Sure.
When you get them around, you can catch something in every location if you actually do something in every building. And you can actually just walk in the town and catch them. I'm just saying, they catch something almost every time. And
Open for communication.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah, and I noticed, like, I don't know, getting more phone calls and everything like that, and it was hard because, several of our group, including me, we all got COVID. My husband almost died from it. But I don't know if it was because the lockdown or the fear and everything else that comes with it, or if the veil is actually thin. But yeah, it just seemed like it was a feeding ground for all those different entities. It was pretty insane.
Like, actually after that lockdown, it wasn't but maybe a month later, like, speaking about the veil being thinner or, like, things changing or whatnot, like, I had an experience in my home. I don't think I've really ever shared this publicly. I've talked to a lot of people that are listening now. They're like, oh, yeah, Jake told me about that. See, like, less of a paranormal investigator is like, I call other people. I think they're better than me. And ask questions. But I had like a really crazy experience one evening to where I was woken up by the presence of something. And I was actually, it just kind of rose up and I saw what it was. And it was just a weird situation to where this being essentially attempted to like lay down inside of me, like enter my body, and I literally felt the movement of the body against mine, which was just very so something I wasn't really not in my wheelhouse that had any experiences like that. But I felt like this thing was like literally trying to calm me to allow its entrance into my body. And it freaked me out because I realized like, wait, this thing is almost hypnotizing me and allowing itself to enter me. And I don't know what this thing is, but like what happens if the spirit jumps me? And then like, so I really pulled myself out of it. And I remember like literally fighting this thing physically to literally remove it from me to avoid whatever was going to happen. But I made a whole bunch of phone calls and talked to a whole lot of people, and it was really funny at that time. I was talking to a lot of people that have been doing this for a lot longer than us and have some serious ties to the supernatural, and they were like, Jay, we've heard this. This has been happening to a lot of people. It was scary, it was terrifying, but that experience, like, that was a little bit too personal, man. Like, where it was like you're trying to literally, like, I mean, it could be a good thing, it could have been a bad thing. But it was definitely something that,
She was comfortable, I didn't want to do it.
I was freaked out. I was freaked out, to be honest.
I mean, I can at least take you to dinner and buy you flowers or something first.
Exactly.
Hit by your own self. Put your name in the sand.
That's right. So we do have to go to our first music break. Did you guys want to come back for another 30 minutes or?
We just
Okay, sounds great. So on this music break, we have Miss Mia Savage. She is actually a snowbird. She's originally from Arizona, but she lives up here in the Durango area as well. She's going to be singing On Reality, Let Me Be Your Home, Crypto. And I cut off one song because it would have gone a little too long. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break. Welcome back, sports fans. Sorry about that. Putting poor Marie to sleep. And the kitty join us. I think I heard a dog in the background too.
Yeah.
But I thought so.
Nice. So, where would you guys like to go next? What would you guys like to talk about?
Anything worse, you can back. To be honest, that's something. Most of them have to open it one. So I missed a little bit.
So you guys have like encrypted experiences down in Arizona?
Encrypted experiences? I'm trying to think.
First experience
Probably the closest.
closest I had probably for me. Because I've never had anything besides.
Well, the one thing that that's constantly come up with my involvement at Vulture City and investigations and whatnot is something that of like giants, large indigenous-looking individuals. The native group that we work directly with there refers to them as Ya'i, which essentially these were like giants, gods. Others might consider them might consider them monsters. But we've come in contact with a lot of these giants. I know Ghost Adventures was out there. We caught this cool, what was it, like probably like 9 foot tall stick figure on an SLS, which is kind of interesting in an area that allegedly had a lot of giants. A really profound experience there years ago. And I was leading some people through the town and just showing them around. And we had a room table that was in the middle of this room. And I was kind of talking about a recent experience where someone had captured an apparition standing behind me, set like a meter on the table, and everyone was just kind of in a large circle. When we looked down at the table, like myself and a few other people were looking at the table, like, what is that? And there was actually these imprints on the top of the table that looked like hands and like an upper that had pressed into the table, and it just did not look like, why would that be there? Like, it didn't make any sense. Well, the longer we were in the room, it materialized more to where like this imprint was even more profound. And this isn't a group of like 25 people probably that were in there that were watching this with me, and it was crazy. It really stumped me, and I really didn't know what to think about what it was. And we caught some amazing stuff, like we had a swimming pool that we investigated in an undisclosed location where there was a death that had occurred there. We saw little footprints around the pool, like wet footprints. So we've seen things like that, like imprints, things like that, things that come off flare. But this is much different, and I was kind of stumped by what it was. I just really didn't quite understand it. And I kind of said on this, and I asked a lot of people in the paranormal community that I trusted, what they thought about it. And then I ended up coming in contact with our friends, the Native American group out there in Arizona, on another thing. And I asked them what their take was with the culture. And immediately, one of them looked at it and said, "Yay!" And I'm like, "You mean like the normal snowman, like that guy?" Well, yeah, kind of. And I was like, okay. And they showed me what these Yetis look like. And they said, no, that wasn't an imprint. The Apaches in the area would draw on walls and stones and things of like this particular image. And it matched exactly what was on the table. So the way that they explained it with their culture was that this was essentially like respect, showing respect, and that you understand that you respected the land, and they were sharing something with you, sharing their story, which in that area around Vulture City was considered like the land of the giants. And the stories that we've heard from indigenous individuals is that many, many, many years ago, these large, tall individuals, they were worshipped as gods, right, by the tribes there. And as they slowly died off, they were buried deep within tombs all along that mountain range. And it was said that if anyone would ever disturb the grounds there, that they would release the monsters, essentially these beings, these large creatures, these people. And it's really hard to open the interpretation of exactly what that is. But from what I gathered from the indigenous individuals I've spoken to, that these are essentially these gods that will be released, and depending on your motivation, you could have a very negative experience with these. And I could say I've not had a negative experience. I've actually had some very emotional experiences dealing with these giants, and I think it's because I also showed only good respect and love to them, and that's come back.
When they were mining, they did some very negative things,
Which always made me like kind of wonder why that happened. But going back to the stories of this being related to the giants that it was ever disturbed, there would be like issues. There would be a curse sent down to man, and that's kind of like there's something called the vulture curse. They've done really good for a long time, and then boom, everything just went back.
There's a gold there. It's just they can't get it out. And it's like it runs out.
So, and it's just, and they have unfortunate events that have taken place throughout the history of over 100 years. But the indigenous individuals really take it back to them, that they're digging into the earth, and that they're having these experiences. But I've had pretty close experiences with them. I've also had a lot of crazy things that happen there, like and seeing dancing indigenous people. We literally were filming for Demi Lovato did a show out there. What's it called? Unidentified?
Yeah, Unidentified.
Peacock. And we were out there, and when the producers came, we did like a walkthrough with them. And during the walkthrough, we actually caught was it us or was it somebody else?
Said caught. Wait, we didn't get the picture.
No, we didn't catch the picture. Someone else had caught the picture and showed it to us. There's so many pictures, folks, so there's a lot of evidence. But there was a photograph that came through which looked like an indigenous individual, and when I showed it to our indigenous friends, they were like, yes, that's an Apache that has head garb on. And it immediately said exactly what it was. But this thing is like almost... It doesn't make any sense.
Producers, and we're showing them, you know who's this deal? They're like, no, they weren't there. They're like, yeah, they were.
Funny story time, too. So when these folks came out, they were all serious, like all producers are. Like, oh, what's what? And I'm walking around and stuff. I went into the brothel, okay? And he yelled at me because I freaked out like a schoolgirl. But in the brothel, there's a kitchen, okay? And in the kitchen, there was a dog. And the dog was facing me, like facing towards me, okay? When I walked to the kitchen, this dog jumped up and jumped towards the window. Like it was like looking out the window. Like this thing moved like 12 inches and turned its entire body. Like when I tell you that I yelled, like, and we're not, the recruiters are going to think that we're freaking crazy. I'm like, we're freaking here for ghost hunt. I mean, they think that we're crazy because...
Yeah. If you ever investigate with Jay's a screamer. He's one of those very, like, you hear, you hear every emotion from Jay. See,
it scared the crap out of me. But really, like, that actually happened.
He's a girl in the paranormal thing. We're watching the investigate, he's a girl. Well, he's like,
No, but like that, I mean, we've listened to that's true too. But we've had some really amazing experiences. And we're talking about like cryptids. Those would be like, I mean, the closest thing that I could chop up to saying like a cryptid. I really want to see a Sasquatch, and me living out in Tennessee, I want to believe that they are real physical beings. I want to see one. And
she gets to do
the
East Tennessee Paranormal in April 28th and 29th. We actually doing
that's a live stream.
But you have to watch it.
Yeah, but I want to see the damn Sasquatch. So, but like for me, I've never seen one. I would love to see something. I believe it's probably more of a supernatural being, interdimensional being, but like I would love to be proved wrong. The people that have seen it said, no, you don't, but I really do. Like I
figured out to watch. So we met up there and I doing a visit.
Oh yeah, because you see it.
Seen all the kids. Okay, Jay, this one. Yeah. Me, you know what? I'm not one of those. I grew up, I guess, in Indiana, Michigan, or Woods. So we grew up in Woods. I used to do anything in the woods. That was my big thing. When your parents told me to go in the woods, I went in the woods.
Because you didn't see a Sasquatch.
I'm not saying it's not there what people are experiencing, because there's a lot of things that people are experiencing. I mean, never, this one goes like, oh, but this is what it is. I mean, it's the experience I did. I just think it's things that we're seeing different dimension, and it's really not here. That's me.
It's really good. The dimension is just missing.
Okay.
Another thing that I guess.
Just saying that's why you can't find it, because it keeps falling off to stuff.
I think a lot of things out there we're never going to be able to understand or explain. Like, I know UFOs are a big topic now in the news and the media.
Just shoot up a bunch of UFOs.
I had an experience, actually, again, at Adventure City. My son and I were there, and there was some YouTube group or something. I'm not sure who they were. They were filming. I can't remember who it was. And we were in the cookhouse, which has a balcony over the top. And someone kept hearing like this loud humming noise, and we didn't know what it was. But it was like this winding noise, and we thought maybe it was over on the mine side. We weren't sure what it was, so we stepped out, and we both looked up, and there was a freaking craft above the cookhouse. Okay. And when I say it was a craft, like I'm telling you that, like, I'm not saying that it was like anything extraterrestrial. There was a craft above the building, probably less than 35 to 40 feet, 25. I can't tell you, but it was big, and it was tan in color. I saw all the components. And
he had a camera in his hand. No pictures.
No, Ben Henson laughed at me. I don't want to talk to him about that too. But but here's the thing, like. I saw that. That was amazing. I saw it shoot off. It was going in and out, like as it was shooting off. Like,
ghost like that.
Yes, I did too. I would always wondered, like with UFO like hunters and stuff, like why? Like you see, how this good experience. Why didn't you get a video of it? Like I'm telling you, you did actually take that picture.
I'm the type though, but I will be in it something that's scary. But I don't have to snappy photos or whatever. Dude, I have a big thing on that.
Sometimes we're so comfortable to experience the UFO. So for me, the next thing I was thinking about was, I have to take video evidence of this to show people. I don't care if anyone's listening even believes me. I don't care. There was some kind of spaceship. There was some people, or some other people in some other world. But that damn thing was above the building. I saw it. My son saw it. Actually, my son was punching me in my ribs, and he was saying, Dad, that's an effing UFO. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what it was, but like, let's take photos of it, then let's take video of it. And then there was like some shows that people were doing. I think I shopped around to, and I got the video. You got a video of it?
We were doing, I forget, it was a walkthrough for something. They stood in the, is that the center of the town?
Do you have like a triangle thing?
And stood above me, started blinking a whole bunch of different lights. And I really couldn't see the shape of anything. They just knew that something that was taking shit.
It might be on the David LeVar. We never saw that. We never saw a few minutes of it, but I don't know. It might be on there. We gave it to the producer. I don't think it's good. Yeah.
But I won't watch what we've done on TV on it. Because I did it, I experienced it, but I don't really want to watch myself. I'm sorry. It's just who I am.
Yeah, same. I can't stand it. Yeah, it's pretty intriguing. I've had several UFO experiences, and it started in 2012. And I always believed in them because my dad did, and he was really big into UFOs, not really the paranormal. Yeah, 2012 was when it began, and it's funny, that's when I was pregnant with my son, and then he was born with 6 fingers on his right hand. So I'm like, is that anything to do with it? Oh, yeah. We finally got videos of it, because like you said, like, the first one we had out back there, I'm trying to get my phone to work to get it on film or whatnot, but couldn't. I just couldn't get it to work, so I just called the family over. But one time we're out in our yard just doing some gardening and messing around, and my 7-year-old, she's like, Mom, look, it's a UFO. And it was not just one, but 2. It was insane.
No, that's really, I mean, like, these experiences, people are having weird experiences, obviously, and I mean, some of them positive.
I mean, well, we have, the galaxy is beyond how big. I mean, you can't even know how big it is. I mean, we haven't even, no human
explores the ocean.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. There has to be something out there. It's just, what is it? I mean, none of us know. I mean, is it the green little things with the ball? You know, like the red things. No, even, I mean, it could be just human. You never know.
The Phoenix Lights, I guess I was a teenager at the time. Saw the Phoenix Lights and that was like, that really set me off in my mind, thinking like, oh my god, like I really like that was terrifying. It was like in the 90s, like, everyone was freaking out like about like alien autopsies and all this stuff. So I grew up like, oh my god, we're probably gonna get debated. But like I saw the damn thing and it looked like the only I can describe when I saw the Phoenix Lights what I saw above my house. It looked almost like liquidy metal is what it looked like to me. Like to where it was literally almost like moving water in the sky. I saw all the lights. You couldn't make out exact details. It definitely was triangular in shape and probably several football fields wide, is my interpretation of what I saw. But like the underbelly of it was definitely appeared to be almost like a liquid, like a reflective surface. It almost blended in with the sky. So like that definitely fascinated me at a very young age. And got me like kind of interested in reading about UFOs and UFO cases and things like that.
So you put start dating?
No, this lady, she seems stuff. We were on our way to Virginia City. We were to Virginia City, and we were there speaking at some event that was up there that Doug was putting on. But we were driving through the Nevada desert in the middle of the night, and people on the like, what was it? I spent like 100 miles. Yeah. And she runs like, there's a UFO in the sky, and like this damn thing was like a UFO. It was triangular shape, the lights. It was like moving all around, doing.
It still did not say it was UFO. I'm in Air Force, my dad's Air Force. But so I will say a lot of the things that you do see on some of that, they do have ships that are triangle shaped and all this other stuff. I understand that's one thing.
What do they call them now? They call them something else.
I don't know. Like UAPs or something like that.
Yeah. That's what I think. Yeah.
See, there's seeing things. They do. I'm just saying all this that we're seeing is Air Force. And so I say, I'm actually still trying to make sense that a ship that they like we can't even see it. It's a fungus and it disappears like that.
You've seen that too in Nevada. Remember they were tested Russia. We've seen a lot of crap.
Yeah. The government says
the door to them is like that.
Here comes the Men in Black. Yeah, every time I go down to Phoenix to visit family. Yeah, I always look at the South Mountain. I'm like, something's got to happen. Nothing ever happens.
Well, there's something out there, that's for sure. I mean, there's definitely a lot of people different now, right? So, like, it's so much different now than it was, like, even, like, 20 years ago.
So now, because you have, like, TikTok, you have Twitter, so many videos.
One good photo or video.
They're saying, you're normal people.
Well, let's good cats, there's 1.5 million.
They have like God walking out of the sky, and I'm like, you know that is.
Yeah, I agree.
And real with Wade Blushing.
Yeah, that's all that was pretty tough.
I forgot, but yes,
I know. The SpaceX scared the crap out of us. We were we lived in the West Valley in Arizona because we had no idea anything about SpaceX, and we were driving. There's a video that we put on Facebook. You can probably search our pages on Facebook. But I swear to you, I thought like we had seen the most profound, like extraterrestrial thing in the world. Oh, it was Armageddon, and but we caught that on video.
Saying it was Air Force, I kept saying that. You kept saying it was.
We definitely thought that was that.
And then you posted Facebook saying, "Oh, UFO was the problem." What? 4 hours later, somebody told us what it was.
It was still damn unidentified, so it was temporarily unidentified. Okay.
Yeah, I actually saw that. It looked like a space train. I'm like, what the hell is that? SpaceX.
It is true.
Do you guys have to go? I know you said you had to go. Oh. So for our listener, if they want to find you or check out your stuff, where should they look?
You can find us on all the social media platforms, Jay and Marie Yates. You can go to YatesFamilyHaunting.com to see all the stuff we've done, appearances, things like that, stuff that we have coming up, things that we've done in the past. But pretty much if you just Google.
And this Paranormal will be the East Tennessee Paranormal. It's April 28th through the 29th.
That's East Tennessee. And then we'll be in
Shorter. The first time going to be in Gettysburg. And the Perrys do such an amazing job. So we're very excited. It's going to be in July. They call it Christmas in July. It's going to be fun.
So those are two close.
Yeah, those are the two closest ones. And then we have Culture City Perry. The one that we put up at Culture City area. 2012 through the 13th. So
go to CultureCityParacon.com if you're interested in the whole event. So we have Friday the 13th ghost hunt this year, which is going to be pretty cool.
yeah.
And then on the 12th, which is a Thursday, we're doing a breaking ceremony, which is going to be awesome with Patty Negri and Unearthing the Supernatural. So a whole bunch of cool stuff planned. Saturday's already
Witching hour experience that I've never done before in culture, so it's going to be a pretty interesting concept. Anyone wants to get honestly, Jay and Marie Yates, Facebook, you can find us.
I can't.
Awesome. And thank you guys so much for coming out and hanging out with us and sharing your stories. It's been awesome.
Thank you, but hopefully we can come back on and we can do the cool for you.
Some near-death experience, one more death or something, maybe.
Right? That'd be awesome. Can't wait. I will definitely be in touch.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to it, and thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night and drive safe. Well, looks like it's just me and you. So, what I had planned for after the Yates would be leaving us is story time with me, TessaTNT. You know what that means. Time to put on the creepy music. Hopefully this works. This system has been so weird tonight. And I know we generally do have issues ever since I've been using this new sound voice meter banana. It's bananas. But yeah, tonight it's been weird as far as the music dragging and the skipping and stuff. It's like I'm playing a CD, but I'm not. It's actually really weird. Anyways. Is this working? There it is. This song is known as The Creeper. So this will get us through to our music break. So tonight we are going to be reading Death, the history of man's obsessions and fears. Last time we were reading this, it was pretty gross. I was like, ew, what the heck is going on with that? So we're on chapter 2, the fear of posthumous indignity, death and resurrection. Good friend, for Jesus' sake, forbear to dig the dust enclosed here. Blessed be the man that spares these stones, and cursed be he that moves my bones. I was actually watching something, it was the Foreman brothers, and they were doing an investigation at a house where there used to be a cemetery, and you know how back in the day when they're supposed to move bodies and they actually don't, so it made me wonder, did they move the bodies? Did they move those bones, or are those bones still there? And they got so many names and so much activity, it was insane. So the inscription on Shakespeare's tomb enshrines the inviolable right of everyone, friend and enemy alike, to be allowed to rest undefiled. The fear that one's carcass may be subjected to posthumous indignity is primitive and deep-rooted. In Britain, especially in the 50 years between 1780 and 1830, Chances of being dug up and removed from one's coffin were infinitely greater than the chances of being placed in one's coffin while still alive. Grave robbing was a largely British phenomenon, long after other European countries had made sensible provisions. British surgeons were legally unable to procure an adequate supply of dead bodies for dissection and the teaching of medical students. This potential dearth of anatomical material was readily supplied illegally by gangs of resurrectionists or sack-em-up men, who would, for a fee, transfer a corpse from the sanctity of the grave to the indignity of the dissecting table. The skill of a surgeon is directly related to his knowledge of anatomy. This would appear to be self-evident when, in 1687, Louis the 15th or 14th, Louis the 14th was operated upon for an anal fistula. The operation was a great success, due in no small measure to the fact that in the previous year the surgeon had practiced on 3 lesser mortals before having the confidence to tackle the royal rump. In the 18th century, bladder stones were much more common than they are today. Votomy, the operation to remove a stone, was attended by a 50% mortality rate. William Cheselden, by dint of practice and a knowledge of anatomy, was able to spare the operating time down to a phenomenal 54 seconds. Reduced blood loss and less profound exhaustion resulted in greatly improved survival rates. The Lancet of 1828 compared Cheselden's performance to that of Bransby Cooper, a surgeon whose hallmark was incompetence and whose position was gained more by nepotism than skill. In a full, true, and particular account, Cooper's bungling, due in no small part to ignorance of anatomy, was accompanied by his repeated exclamations of "Oh dear, oh dear." An hour-long operation was followed by 29 hours of excruciating pain before the patient mercifully died. Such an aptitude could be countered only by proper training in anatomy. Unfortunately, most people had such an inherent abhorrence of the idea of dissection that for centuries lower animals substituted for humans. In the misplaced hope that the anatomies of widely different species were fundamentally similar to man's, the most famous of Greek physicians, Galen, who lived in the 2nd century, derived his knowledge of anatomy from dissections of pigs, apes, dogs, and oxen. Thus it was that for 13 centuries the human breastbone was supposed to be segmented like that of an ape, and the liver to be divided into many lobes like that of a pig. The uterus was supposed to be in 2 long horns as in the dog, and the hip bones to be flared as in the ox. Sorry, I was getting a message from the Yates. They're so awesome. I really loved having them on. Can't wait to do it again in the future. When, in the 16th century, the famous anatomist Vesalius, the same person who supposedly killed a cardinal on the dissecting table, showed that Galen's description of the hip bone was erroneous. Apologists claimed that over the centuries, the human hip bone must have changed shape as a result of wearing tight trousers. You don't think that would do that? In such an atmosphere of ignorance, it is small wonder that surgery made little progress. Most physicians, looking down their noses at surgeons who sullied themselves by actually examining the anatomy of a corpse, would invoke the Bible. He that toucheth the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days. In 1300, the study of anatomy was dealt a crippling blow, and that year Pope Boniface VIII issued a bull excommunicating anyone who cut up and boiled a human body. This edict was intended to discourage crusaders to the Holy Land from cutting up and boiling any part of their number who died, in order that their bones could be easily packed and sent back to Europe for a Christian burial. Unfortunately, because the bull was taken to include dissection, the scientific study of human anatomy was virtually abandoned by the medical profession, and surgery became the province of uneducated barbers, bathhouse keepers, soulgelders, executioners, and vagabonds. With the Renaissance came a renewed interest in the human anatomy. The bodies used were usually those of executed criminals, and demand invariably outstripped supply. Ardor for knowledge sometimes made men contravene civilization's most powerful taboos. Mandella, a professor at Montpellier Medical School, dissected the body of his own dead child before a class of his students. And William Harvey, who in 1628 published his researches on the circulation of the blood, reached his conclusions by autopsy on the live and dead, including post-mortem dissections of his own father and sister. One had hoped that Harvey's live autopsies were not performed on humans, though it is salutary to recall the ancient anatomists of Alexandria obtained the bodies of criminals for dissection alive and contemplated even while they breathed, those parts which nature had before concealed. In Montpellier, in the 16th century, the French government donated one criminal each year for live dissection. That's sick. In 1540, during the reign of Henry VIII, an act of Parliament was passed creating the United Company of Barbers and Surgeons. To this company was given the exclusive right to dissect the bodies of 4 condemned persons yearly for anatomies. 4 bodies each year could never satisfy the needs of the surgeons, nor the 6 allowed in the reign of Charles II. The beadle of the Barbers' Company, whose duty it was to collect the bodies from the Tyburn gallows, often had to run the gauntlet of an angry mob, whipped up by the deceased relatives, intent on preventing the corpses being taken for dissection. In the company's accounts for 1719, and following item appears. Let's see. This is the anatomy lesson of Dr. Damon by Rembrandt. So this was 1606 through 69. Cover's trying to come off on me. Paid the beadle's expenses for going to Tyburn for body for the muscular lecture, when they could not get one by reason of a great mob of soldiers and others. 13S and 0D. Another problem alluded to in Chapter 1 is well illustrated by the following item, recorded in 1740 concerning one William Dewell, convicted rapist. Paid the beadles their expenses in bringing the body from Tyburn. That was £2, 19, I don't know, is that shillings? And 0, what is that, deniers? Paid Joseph Willard, the company's clerk, his coach hire and expenses in attending the sheriff's when the body came to life. 10 shillings and 0D. Dewell's sentence was commuted to transportation for life. In 1752, Parliament passed an act whereby all those found guilty of murder were to be hanged and then handed over to the surgeons for dissection. In no case whatsoever the body of any murderer shall be suffered to be buried. So here's a picture that was John Bellingham was hanged for shooting the Prime Minister Spencer Perceval in the House of Commons in May 1812, detailed from a contemporary drawing by an unidentified artist. John Bellingham Assassin. Typical of the murderers who were publicly hanged and then dissected was John Bellingham. One afternoon in May 1812, Bellingham walked into the lobby of the House of Commons and shot dead the Prime Minister, Spencer Perceval. Bellingham had previously spent 2 years in a Russian gaol, and on his release and return to Britain, demanded retribution from the government. Although it was obvious that Bellingham was insane, in the trial described by Lord Rockie as the greatest disgrace to English justice, the witless assassin was condemned to be hanged and dissected. Duly, 1 week later, Bellingham was hanged in front of the debtor's door of Newgate Prison. He uttered his last words with impressive dignity. I thank God for having enabled me to meet my fate with so much fortitude and resignation. After an hour, he was cut down and his body transported in a cart through Old Bailey, Newgate Street, and St. Martin's le Grand to the Beadle of the Company of Surgeons in St. Bartholomew's Hospital. A description of the scene has been left to us by Sir Richard Owen himself, the Bart's man. The college hired a house in Cock Lane, to which these bodies, Bellingham and one other, were brought from Newgate. Sir William Blizzard, the president, was attired in court dress as the proper costume for the official act. He heard the shouts of the crowd and then the noise of the approaching cart. Then came the heavy steps of the executioner tramping up the stairs. He had the body of a man on his back, and, entering the room, lets it fall on the table. Sir William Blizzard made a small cut with the scalpel over the breastbone and bowed to the executioner. This was the formal recognition of the purpose for which the body had been delivered. Bellingham's skull was lost for over 150 years until finally located in a box in the basement of the anatomy department by St. Bartholomew's Medical School. There was no problem in identification since someone had thoughtfully written Bellingham in ink across the forehead. It is eerie to compare a contemporary illustration of Bellingham, the noose around his neck, and the actual skull of this unfortunate madman. The ignominy of dissection moved condemned men to eloquence. In 1750, William Smith, an Irish forger, was hanged at Tyburn. While in the condemned cell, he composed a newspaper advertisement appealing for public subscriptions to save his body from the anatomists. As to my corporal frame, it is unworthy of material notice, but for the sake of that reputable family from which I am descended, I cannot refrain from anxiety when I think how easily this poor body, in my friendless and necessitous condition, may fall into the possession of the surgeons, and perpetuate my disgrace beyond the severity of the law. The deprivation of life is a sufficient punishment for my crimes. Those who, compassionate my deplorable situation, are desired to send their humane contributions to Mrs. Browning's, next door to the Golden Acorn in Little Wall Street. In 1828, William Corder tried and executed in Bury St. Edmunds for the murder of Maria Martin in the Red Barn. He was subsequently dissected and anatomized. A copy of the proceedings was later bound in Corder's own skin, which was given to the Town Museum. His skeleton was exhibited in a glass case in the local hospital. Beneath the case was a box for visitors' contributions. By means of an ingeniously constructed spring, the arm of the skeleton pointed towards the box as soon as it was approached by a visitor. The skeleton was later given to the Royal College of Surgeons in London, where it can be seen to this day. In 1775, William Hunter, the surgeon and brother of more famous John, was particularly excited by the physical development of one of the criminals brought to the Royal College of Surgeons from Tyburn. He thought the body would make ideal teaching material for students at the Royal Academy of Arts. While it was still warm before rigor mortis had set in, Hunter posed the body in such a position as to show the muscular development to its maximum effect. He then allowed the body to stiffen, removed the skin from the corpse, and made a mold. The Academy still has the cast of such a flayed criminal, Smuggleress. Of course, class distinctions extended even to murderers. Ferris, who shot his steward, was not subjected to the indignity of dissection. He was executed in May 1760, and his body taken to the surgeon's hall. After a small incision had been made in the chest, merely as a formality, the corpse was returned to his relatives for funeral obsequies suitable to his station. So the smugglerists cast of a flayed criminal, after hanging at Tyburn, the body was put into an attitude, and, when he became stiff, we all set to work, and by the next morning, we had the external muscles all well exposed. So that note, boys and girls, we are going to stop there. I think we'll do, usually I do Reddit ghost stories, but I'm thinking about doing Reddit, what is it called? Let me look what I put in here. Mandella Effect. Because last time I read that was pretty interesting, so I'd like to get more into that. So on that note, boys and girls, let's go to our second music break. On this break, we have once more Miss Mina Savage with her band Antidote for Savages, and she will be singing Bury Me in Heaven, which is one of my faves, as well as Not a Phase, Singing to Your Grave, and The Bottom Line. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break. Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining me this evening on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. So glad you can join us. So for this last hour, we are going to delve into Reddit's Mandella Effects. There's a few good ones in here. I was about to go over to ghost stories, but I did find a few interesting ones. This one is by u/din441. The song Special by the band Garbage was out in 1994. I swear I heard this song in the summer of 1994 on at least a couple of Singapore airline flights. I remember really loving it. However, I don't remember listening to the song again until around 20 years later on YouTube when I searched it out one night. The issue here is that this song was not actually released until 1998. When I did hear the song again after 20 years, it did indeed sound like the same song, but ever so slightly different. Though I realized that this part of it could be explained by a number of factors. The version I heard in 1994 also seemed more popular since it was on Pop Airline radio station, while the 1998 version was like the third single off their second album, and the YouTube video doesn't have many views compared to their other singles or other 90s hits. I had also never heard the song again on the radio/TV after 94, and it took some searching on YouTube when I did try to look for it. Anyone familiar with this or have a similar story with another song? And there's some advertisement. This one's by u/Linnea_Dow. I found a new one, The Twilight Zone episode 4 o'clock. In the final scene, when Oliver is looking out of the window, do you notice anything different? I hadn't watched this episode in many years, and then I rewatched it today. Anyone who has seen the original version should know the difference, so I will not give it away. Also, if you are new to the Mandela Effect, here is a must-read post. Let's see what it says. Revelation 8:12. Time is 50% faster now. Russia, Ukraine could be the start of World War III, when prophecy in Revelation 8:12 has already been fulfilled. When you get to the time difference page, read the quote from 1997 newsletter. If Part A, Revelation 8:12, has already been fulfilled, then what does that tell you about Part B, the Battle of Armageddon? After you've read the material below is a rebuttal to the naysayers, and if you haven't already done so, please visit rev812.com and then read the primer and time diff. They can be read on under 15 minutes before continuing. And then there's a rebuttal. Before going any further, make sure you have read the primer and the time diff. This is your final warning. When something hits too close to home, people suddenly become very dismissive about it. They love to ridicule the messenger, and they believe that groupthink can automatically override the messenger. The bottom line is that Del DeFay and I really did perfect the counting to 10 cadence on Sagittarius Earth, so we know for 100% fact that this is a different planet. Furthermore, our claim about the time difference was so good that it ended up perfectly aligned with someone else's interpretation of Revelation 8:12. And anyone reading this should know why they perfectly aligned. Please stop fooling yourselves and deal with the reality. You know it wasn't simply dumb luck. Time cannot magically get 50% faster unless you are on a different planet. What's more, skeptics of the Mandela Effect will eventually come to this sobering conclusion. The two paces, i.e. the speaking pace that is used in order to count to 10 in 15 seconds, which is pace A below, and the speaking pace that it is used in order to count to 10 in 10 seconds, which is pace B below, are too similar to be confused with one another. And thus the following scenario is not reasonably possible. Person X is absolutely certain that he has used pace of dozens, if not hundreds of times in his life for the purpose of counting to 10 in 10 seconds. He then discovers in astonishment that he was actually using pale speed all those times he counted to 10. In other words, all other things being equal, such as discrepancy between perception and reality, is impossible. And bear in mind, right now, I've only been talking about the time difference as opposed to also talking about where my heart used to be. It used to be on the dime, how human skulls used to look like, etc. In July 2019, I felt my heart beating at the center of my chest for the first time in my life. Prior to July 2019, my heart was located on the left side of my chest. And this incident occurred before I knew anatomical changes were a component of the Mandella Effect. As you can see, when it comes to examining this phenomenon, context is paramount. And as a skeptic of this material, you'll eventually reach a point where your counter-argument is no longer reasonable because it involves too many coincidences. In regard to people saying that my claim about time difference is based on the Bible, in August 2019 I had already made the claim that this planet is a replica version of the real Earth. My claim was based on things such as the changes in human anatomy and 2 additional occupants in the JFK car. It wasn't until the following month, September 2019, that I found out FDR was now on the dime instead of Eisenhower. And then in mid-September of 2019, I found out about the time difference. And then 2 months after that, on July 19th, 2020, I discovered Revelation 8:12. So, no, my claim about the time difference is not based on the Bible. In conclusion, I made the claim with 100% certainty about days being 16 hours long without even knowing about the existence of Revelation 8:12. That is what I experienced and documented in 2019 proves that the Bible is indeed true. Ultimately, one's worldview should be based on that which actually exists and that which is actually true. I would hazard a guess that your current worldview is based, however, on long-standing falsehoods. They seem very, very, very reasonable. Keep in mind, a long-standing falsehood that seems very, very, very reasonable is still a falsehood nonetheless. Frankly, I think it's high time you re-examined your own beliefs, so let me ask you this. All these years, where exactly have you been getting your knowledge from? Here are some questions for Christians, namely Catholics, Protestants, and Mormons. Will you foolishly decide to ignore all of this information? If you had been around when Noah was building the ark, would you have been Team Noah, i.e. a supporter of Noah's mission? Or would you have been Team Ignorant Masses, i.e. a member of the ignorant, worldly, narrow-minded masses? Are you currently a member of the ignorant, worldly, narrow-minded masses? Are you sure about your answer to the previous question? Before today, how exactly did you think the end times would play out? Is God obligated to make your version of the end times come to fruition? Why were you under the impression that your version of the end times would actually come to fruition? At the end of the day, when all is said and done, does your version of the end times have any basis on reality? Which one is more important? That which is actually true in regard to the end times, or your version of the end times? Why is everyone, i.e. the mainstream media, the alternative media, aka the mainstream media part 2, all think tanks, all governments, all universities, and all churches too scared to talk about this information? Don't you find it rather odd that in terms of media coverage, this information has never had its day in court, unlike, say, the Flat Earth theory or QAnon's belief system? Which one do you care about more, the truth or your church? Or are you pro-life but not pro-truth? And finally, is there a chance that being anti-truth could bar you from entering heaven? Keep in mind that Jesus said regarding the truth, I could go on, trust me, but I will stop right here. And just to prove a point, I said all this without even mentioning the hidden hand dialogue. Who knows? So this one is by u/honk if you love weed. God bless the USA, fill in the blank. My girlfriend and I just discovered this, curious what everybody else thinks. And I won't forget the man who died who gave that right to me. And I blank stand up next to you. No cheating, go with your gut. Gladly, everybody saying gladly. Somebody says proudly. I gladly stand up next to you to defend her still today is my memory of that part of the lyric. Will gladly, proudly, etc., etc. So this one is by you, / I told you I'm not Rick. The E train of New York City subway. So I take the E train almost every day, and I always remembered the logo of the E being bright yellow. But I wanted to search up the route for the train and see the pic of the logo, and this entire time it was blue. I might be confused or confusing it for R, but I always remembered checking to see when the next E would arrive, and I always remembered the logo was yellow. I might be tripping, but I don't know. So this one is by you / Dragon Station. For those who remember Nelson Mandela dying before 2013, when do you recall it happening? I thought it was in the 90s. I remember the funeral procession and everything. So currently researching this Mandela Effect. It's one I've never gotten deep on before, as I don't possess this false memory myself. But I've noticed a fairly wide range of experiencers' memories during from the early 80s and early 90s, although some even later. Just curious, since there are tons of people with this memory, when did it happen for you? Particularly interested in those who recall hearing about it as a news story, but also interested if anybody remembers hearing about it later on, as though it already happened. Anything to help me narrow down dates of when this earlier death may have happened. Was he in prison? Had he just been released from prison? There seems to be a divide on this point as well. Please include everything you remember about what you heard of this news as well. TV, radio, from teacher, thank you. Cotton Candy Warrior says, for me, it was early 80s, where the Challenger disaster happened in the same year. It was a weird year, and I felt like I spent a lot of time watching the news in school. I watched the funeral, a long procession with lots of flowers, that's what I remember. I remember Ronald and Nancy Reagan and other dignitaries. He was in prison. It came up one night at dinner, and I argued he had died in the 80s. I looked online, and that was when I discovered the Mandela Effect. Although my husband and I are the same age, he remembers every one of the common Mandela Effect things differently. We are from different parts of the country, and I wonder if that played a part. This one is by Stunning-Remove 2243. This is really weird. I'm 27, and I remember in the early 2000s when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade sitting on the living room floor and seeing this on the news. I remember it super clearly. I remember it was a woman broadcaster, and I remember it saying breaking news. It was that he had died in prison. I felt crazy saying this, but I swear to God I remember it like this. I always ponder this because so many people I know swear they saw this. Later in my 9th grade, bio teacher talked about his death. I'm so confused. Dragon Station says, I'm confused too since he was released from prison a decade prior to that. And then Chickadee says, same, early 2000s, I'm 42 and was in college. Merkley 568 says, same here, early 2000s, I was in high school when I first heard about it, and I remember thinking, who is Nelson Mandela? I also remember him being in jail when he passed because it was a big deal. Impressive_mud 8401. I'm 28, but when I heard Nelson Mandela had died, me and my partner, 34, had a conversation about the fact that we were sure he had died in prison before we were born. And then Throwaway 998I has shared an article, Mandela hospitalized with tuberculosis. Mr. Ayob, the lawyer, said Mr. Mandela had been bedridden at Pollsmoor prison for 9 days before he was transferred to a hospital on Friday. He said Mr. Mandella had been coughing blood and that about 3 quarts of fluid were removed from his left lung on Saturday. Dragon Station said, "Nice catch. I read about this, but hadn't seen the clipping. I'm wondering if he may have just died as a result of the illness in another timeline." Throwaway 998I said, "That's my recollection, that malnutrition weakened him and TB finished him off. So many Mandella Effects track back, arguably, to what seems like a 50-50-ish probability that swung the other way." Then Dragon Station said, "I did the same thing." Miss Papa Giorgio said, "In 1994, do you remember him becoming president? Is that when you realized he had died?" And then Throwaway 998I said, "No, I realized it in 1990 when he was suddenly alive and freed. The 4 of us were in the room when we heard the news, and all of us agreed we thought he had died. Then we moved on with our lives without giving it a second thought." Will_Envelope_148 said 2003. Dragonfly_Moon said around 2003/2004, I was going through my grandmother's stuff in a closet to help clean out. There were a couple of magazines, and I don't remember which one, but it was on the front, and I flipped through the pages and read about him dying. I can see it in my head clear as day. Potential_Pirate 1985 said, I remember it being early 2000s, and he had died in prison after a lengthy illness. Black-Cat 11. Early 80s, like 81 or 82, I heard it from my social studies teacher. He told us he died in prison, and if any of us in class knew who he was. Spent the whole class time that day talking about Nelson Mandela. The class really left an impression on me. Never heard Nelson Mandela mentioned again after his death in 2013. I was like, what the F? He died in the 80s. I then looked him up and saw he was president of South Africa. Really blew my mind because I never even heard that he was president of South Africa. And I know it would have had my attention because of how much of an impression that class had in the 80s. Someone else said in the 80s. Sergeant Rhodes, 16, said, I cannot pinpoint exactly when, but I remember when he died I was kind of confused. I could have sworn he died years before that, and I kind of keep up with things. It was the strangest thing ever. It still confuses me. I clearly remember this dude dying because I haven't took the time to learn a bit about him. I figured if everyone is reporting on this, he must have been important. Cobra 1519 said, this isn't the best sub for this question. Most people lately post about not knowing the artist to a song or thinking a tree at the end of their street was at a different location. Almost everyone in this sub tends to misunderstand what the Mandela Effect is. Yeah, that's what it's named after, is Nelson Mandela, because everybody remembers him dying earlier. For me, it was the 80s when he was in prison. He was killed in a riot. It was on the news. I remember Mom and Granny watching it, and that Granny was cooking breakfast. Dad, however, said, I was born in 84, and I remember him dying when I was a kid. I just don't remember exactly when, unfortunately. I want to say late 80s. Monato OPG said, I know it's not what the OP is looking for. It's on the he didn't die side of the ME, but what I distinctly remember is the day that he was released. An old man walking out of prison, him of course. Why this is memorable is that up to then, every Free Mandela poster or news story that I had seen showed a young guy. My first reaction was, who the hell is that? So somebody wants to discuss the definition of Mandela Effect. Let's move on to Duncan. So U/Kino360 said it's called Duncan. Get ready, people. There is about to be a shift in the Mandela Effect. 5 years from now, we will see it on this site. No more Dunkin' Donuts. Duncan, not Duncan. It changed to Duncan almost 5 years ago. videos. This one is by you/Don't Scare Easy. The Boondocks/Family Guy. I'm tripping out, so I hope you guys can help. In the animated show The Boondocks, there was a joke which I'll post in the comments, but it was about LGBT standing for lettuce, gay bacon, and tomato, but I specifically remember that joke being told by Stewie and Family Guy. Can anyone help? And you too. This one is by you/Hey Lisa Lisa. New to me, Mandella Effects. Tell me if they're new to you. In the movie E.T., apparently, E.T. did not say E.T. phone home. Supposedly, he said E.T. home phone. I'm not a phone home. In The Matrix, Morpheus never says, "What if I told you?" I think the second part was, "Everything you know is a lie," but I'm not positive about the second part. I just saw someone mention these two today, and my mind is blown, especially the E.T. phone home, because I watched that a million times as a kid. It was my favorite movie. He did. Moon54 says in E.T. he says E.T. home phone. The first time, then the kids say E.T. phone home, and then E.T. repeats the E.T. phone home line several times. Did you even check the thing before you posted? This one is by you/Night Honor. Didn't Mario Lopez host one of the American Funniest Home Video shows? Guess he never hosted any show like that on IMDb. He hosted Animal Planet, BitStar. I remember he did a segment on viral videos for Extra or some show like that. No Officer says, not that I remember, Bob Saget did AFV and Dave Collier did America's Funniest People films. Not really. Switching bodies. So this is by /dandelion_44. So I just saw a video that included a theory that every time you sleep, you switch bodies with a slightly different version of yourself from an alternate universe. This, in turn, is why we have the Mandella Effect. I honestly do not know how to feel. What do you think? Why do you think we have the Mandella Effect? I've heard many theories ranging from the government, time travel, and parallel universes. I'm not sure what the reason is, but this effect definitely exists and is super weird. Megadeath621 says, "Sorry, I forgot our anniversary, but it's not my fault. I went to sleep last night." Oops. Yeah, I slept since. This one is by you/Red Eyes Set Go. Effect or false memory? Help me out. I vividly remember there being a judge who was a musician on a U.S. reality show that had a smaller than normal underdeveloped arm or hand. I have since learned this is not the case, wondering if I have him confused for someone else. Ginger_T said, "The only person I know of with one smaller hand is now late UK TV host Jeremy Beadle, who used to fidget with his hand, making me too distracted and always looking at them but could never see it. I later found out about it, which led to the joke Jeremy Beadle's got a small cock, but on the other hand, I wouldn't know enough about American reality TV shows to know one way or the other as a music producers, etc., or they're faceless to me." So you/420_dad_of_3. Can we start categorizing the universe we come from? My theory is simple. We all have memories from our respective universes, hence Mandela effects. However, going through threads in the subreddit, I have noticed patterns in which some remember the subject in one way, whilst others in the current form. Whilst Mandella Effects have been around a while, it is my further theory that CERN may be the cause of this, and that it may be causing tears in time, space, which are causing timelines to fuse. So, I believe we should start categorizing our originated universes. In mine, it was Kit Kat. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Brittany was wearing a tartan skirt. She had a mic. Shazam was played by Shaq. There's so much more, but you get the idea. What are your thoughts? Robert Wilkins said, "Honey, I didn't cheat on you. That was clearly a me from another universe." Old Special TM said, "Personally, I'm from a universe where OP isn't a dumbass. It's like a little hard to believe, but for us, it was normal." Robert Luke says, "There's no way I was wrong. I clearly remember something from when I was 6 years old. The only logical explanation is that we experienced a rift in the space-time continuum." Dr. Snively says, "I want to know why nobody is from a universe where John Lennon is still alive, or where the Soviet Union won the Cold War, or where England won the World Cup last year. Why is always dumb crap like song lyrics and underwear logos?" Throwaway 9981 or 8i said, "Some will tell you that Lennon faked his death and lived the rest of his life as Mark Stacer, a John Lennon impersonator. To be honest, this entire conspiracy feels brand new to this timeline. Here's a video of him performing in 2006. Draw your own conclusion." WV Prepper said, "You're the first person I've ever heard say that Shaq played Shazam." I think if I was describing the universe I was from, I would probably choose to highlight more important aspects than what a pop star wore 20 years ago. Megadeth621, "Dang, people really just can't admit that they don't have perfect memory, huh?" Looking for Bobo said, "I'm from the universe where everything was the same except Dr. Phil Cash Me Outside Girl episode aired earlier than they said it did." Captain Kirk 462 said, "I am from Dimension C-139, the one that Linda Lovelace won an Oscar for her acting in Deep Throat." Old Special TM said, "Thanks for the post, OP. Any other fascinating theories you want to share with the world? It's amazing that your every example of time-space anomaly is some innocuous pop culture reference that can be chalked up to simply misremembering something." I'm gonna move on. This one is by u/J Sublime. When did Glenn Howard become Glenn Howerton? I'm confused about saying Howerton. This seems like a very recent change that I've never seen before. Environmental-Ball24 said, "The exact moment someone noticed the typo and corrected it." Ninja Turtles. So, u/St. Belthamon, Ninja Turtles pizza quote Mandella Effect. So I distinctly remember watching one of the original 3 Ninja Turtles movies and seeing a scene where one of the turtles grabs a slice of pizza and the cheese stretches out and one of the turtles exclaims, "Ah, the dreaded cheese pool." But I couldn't remember what movie I saw it in, so I dusted off my DVD 4-pack. It also includes a CGI TMNT film. I literally fast-forwarded through all 3 films and only stopped for scenes where the turtles are eating pizza. Yet I couldn't find the scene. Is this a Mandela Effect situation? Did I imagine this whole scenario? Is it possible that I saw something in a cartoon or TV show and misattributed it to the movies? Remember in Ninja Turtles 3 where Leonardo gets a cannon fired at him and he pulls his head into his shell and says, "Man, I love being a turtle." Anyway, weird obsession about this scene that seems like it might be a false memory. If anyone has any clue what I'm talking about, please feel free to remind me what it may have come from. I haven't seen the latest Ninja Turtle films in their entirety because I really don't like Michael Bay, so I'm certain they aren't in those two films. Decent Flatworm 4425 says, not sure why there would be a quote about pizza when the turtles only eat spaghetti. You're thinking of Garfield. This one is by U/Q3ZN2H20. Masi Campo Fiorini. I'm tripping out now because there's a wine which I've regarded as my favorite for about 20 years now, which is and has always been called Campo Fiorini. Everyone I talk to and multiple internet sources know what I'm talking about, but my girlfriend just brought home a bottle of Campo Fiorini minus the I at the end. And I'm now unable to find any visual representation of this wine with the I. How can this be? Boston Brand 82 said, how much wine did you drink? 420_dad_of_3. On your timeline, it was spelled that way. I had an hour-long argument with my son the other day that it is Mirror Mirror on the Wall in Snow White. It's Magic Mirror on the Wall, apparently. I remember Mirror Mirror. I don't know about you. Hello, Turbo Duran. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. So this one is by U/Intrepid-806832. War of the Worlds, 2005. I know I can't be the only person who vividly remembers Tom Cruise driving a Smoking the Bandit-style Firebird Trans Am in the beginning of the movie. Saw a clip of the movie and saw it was an early model Mustang. Anybody else remember the old Pontiac, or am I alone on this one? Couldn't tell ya. U/BadMojo92 Titanic. Cal sexually assaulted Rose. Mandella Effect. There's a scene that I feel is missing from the Titanic that I pretty vividly still recall, but can no longer find rewatching the movie. I was pretty sure that when Jack is arrested, there's a scene after the part where Cal slaps Rose in the ring, and before they go to the lifeboats where Cal and Rose are on the staircase, not sure if grand stairs or not, and he's mad at her for wanting to be with Jack. Anyway, the scene plays out like this. She tries to get away from him after arguing, but Cal grabs a hold of her before she can get away. Then holds there and has one of his hands go up underneath the skirt of her dress, as if to hold her in place by her to assert dominance over her and be like, you my woman, you're not going anywhere. Made Cal seem like even more of a bastard. I swear I remember this scene from watching Titanic on VHS as a kid, 11 to 12, and I remember being pretty shocked that he did such a thing. But plot-wise, I always thought of it as the last straw for Cal and Rose's relationship. Anyway, as an adult, I swear this scene is missing from the versions on streaming services, and I've seen nothing to indicate it ever even happening on the internet. Am I crazy? Did this happen? Does anybody remember something like this? I realize this is an awful sounding scenario to include in the movie, but I swear I still vividly remember the scene. I've talked to other people, and no one I know remembers it. Mandela Effect or nah? I remember when I was in MRP in the military, this movie was played repeatedly. I don't get it. So Paper Bag Princess 1 says, I've watched this movie a million times and can assure you this has never happened. Aimlessly Adrift says, I recall a similar scene to that, but there was no skirt fumbling or kitty grabbing. From off camera, he grabbed her by the waist and jerked her towards him, and she looked shocked. I'm not sure if that's what you might be remembering, or you may be conflating the scene with a different one. And maybe I'm missing something? Who knows, but the scene I described would be in a time frame you mentioned. Mike Wetherington says, I do not recall this happening, and I loved this movie as a kid. Also, it was rated PG-13 in 1997. I don't see this slipping past the MPAA at this time. P.S. Women wore, on average, 17 layers of clothing at this point in time. There's no way he was able to achieve this. Farberware is actually Farberware? My sister got me a set of Farberware knives for my birthday. Oh shit. My daughter just brought it to my attention that it's spelled Farberware. Myself, my wife, and my daughter all thought it was Faberware. Are we the only ones? 1000% it's Farberware. The Terminal. This is by u/FOZ97. The Terminal. Borderline. I may be just misremembering a different film, but I could have sworn that in the film he carried his father's ashes with him, and he was a major fan of American baseball. He wanted to take the ashes to the stadium and scatter them. Please correct me if I am just remembering a different film. Potatoes are nice. Surely a different film. His dad was a jazz fan, and the woman hopes that the box doesn't have his dad's ashes at one point. Ginger_T said people thought it was his ashes when they saw him look at the can and talk about his dead dad. But we see it open and it was full of postcards and other things related to music. River Lilatu says, I swear his dad was a baseball or softball fan. Serious_title 1383. See, I remember that movie having a different title. It was like The Layover or Flight Attendant. The Terminal was like an action movie. Who knows? This one is by u/Senator Vexillologia, Brazilian version of The Electric Company. Hey guys, my name is Joa Lacerda. I'm a teen from Manaus, Amazonas, Brazil. I created a Reddit account just to post this. Here's my Mandella Effect. When I was a kid, probably 2011 or 2013, I remembered seeing in a local kids channel a show about a group of children who lived in a house shaped like Neymar's works in the capital of Brasilia. Look it up. It was a relatively small house that had a soccer pitch inside, a huge laptop, and many other stuff. Next to the house, there was a skate pitch, I don't know the name, where everyone could skateboard or parkour. The show also had two angry neighbors, a man and a woman, who wanted to destroy their house because they made very loud noises. Years later, I discovered a show called The Electric Company, created by the same woman who created Sesame Street. I also discovered there was a reboot in 2009. The year is 2023, and I still don't know if that show is real or just a very bizarre dream from my childhood. What are your thoughts? This says, I'm from Brazil too. I'm 22 now, and I can vaguely remember the show you're talking about, but also can't remember details neither. What it was called. This one is by u/drawing and other stuff. Dumpster emoji? I recently was about to send a dumpster emoji to my friend and I realized it never existed. I swear, I've used this before. Hellstar Sushi said, the same thing happened to me with the robbery emoji. I could have sworn that there was a robbery emoji, but in fact it never existed. So weird. What platform do you think it was? Dumpster on. It's possible it was changed over the years. They do make revisions from time to time. This one is by u/snack-order. Can I place a bit more emphasis on logic and implications here? Oh, this one's pretty long. I don't think I can get through it. not before the show ends. This one is by u/JSD71. Star Trek Picard Season 3 intro in the 25th century has disappeared. I watched the first episode yesterday morning, UK. At the very beginning of the opening titles, in blue writing, was the text in the 25th century. Those familiar with the Wrath of Khan will know it had this title card 2 only in the 23rd century. So Picard Season 3, we're paying homage to it with this Easter egg, and I thought that was a nice touch and looked great too. So watching it again today on Amazon Prime, and the 25th century title card has disappeared. Anyone else, can you confirm this or not? To add, I had a reply earlier today, Sunday, from someone in Australia, where the intro is there for them on Amazon Prime. So it's both there and not there regarding Amazon Prime. To add, someone replied to me earlier that they watched it 30 minutes ago and it was there. I asked them if they would have another look again into the intro. Oh shit. Sorry, I lost you guys. I'm back. That was weird. So I asked them again to look at the intro. Well, they deleted their original comment. Thought that was odd too. Another reply from Retcon Sub stated, he just watched the 25th century intro 5 minutes ago. I noticed the downvoting. Just check yourselves, people. There's reference to the now missing intro on the internet if you care to look. So Epic Journeyman, who's a moderator, said, this is exactly how most of the well-known flip-flops have been reported, and it's kind of fun to watch this develop in real time. My sense is that the below-linked explanation in the comments is correct about some kind of editing issue. But this is precisely what many of the people who experienced the Apollo 13 and Back to the Future van flip-flops experienced and commented about in lifetime. The difference in this case is that nobody ever fessed up to being responsible and just kind of let it hang out there without an explanation. I've always been inclined to think those events were done using readily available technology, so it's interesting to watch this play out with this event. Anyways, boys and girls, we are at the end of our time. We have about a minute left before we go to the intro song. I'm so glad that somebody let the dogs out, because, yeah, couldn't go without some barking during the show, right? Who knows? So I hope you guys have enjoyed Jay and Marie Yates. Had an awesome time talking to them. And then Death, the book by Robert Wilkins, The History of Man's Obsessions and Fears. Pretty gnarly book, if you ask me. And then read it, Mandella Effect. I think I'm going to go back to ghost stories because, you know, a lot of arguments and different memories, etc., etc. But there were a few interesting ones on there. Just not enough to, I don't know, keep me intrigued. I think people do have fluctuating memories, etc., but there's a lot of Mandela effects out there, such as Mandela dying. I remember him dying, I believe it was in the 90s? And then he just died, not too long ago. So that was pretty odd. Anyways, thank you so much once again for tuning in to our Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. It was a pleasure having you, your listening ears, and your peeping eyeballs. Thank you to all of our friends on the Paradox Media's Facebook, KPNL Radio, Twitter, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and wherever else beyond the Omniverse that you've been listening or watching tonight. Can't wait to do it again next weekend. We have the Paradox Paranormal Forum. That's going to be fun. And then we have Vinny and Luke, Netflix and chill. Luke might not make it, but Vinny might bring somebody else on with them. Don't forget, you guys, we're all in this together. Together we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. We're not going to do a Skype after party tonight. Stayed up way too late chatting online with friends last night, but you never know. I might pop in there for a second. If you want to join us on there, give me a call, 970-335-9596, or look me up under live:Tessa.in.Thomas30. Until next time, nighty night, love and light to all my views. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Enjoy your President's Day if you get the day off. And I will see you back here, same time, same crazy place.